with blood and rage of crimson red, ripped from a corpse so freshly dead, together with our hellish hate, will burn you all. That is your fate!
Some characters begin with destiny. Atrocitus began with annihilation. To understand the complexity of his character, we first need to understand what created him. The Guardians of the Universe are an ancient race of immortals from the planet Oa. They see themselves as overseers of order across the cosmos and created the Green Lantern Corps to enforce that vision. Small in stature but vast in knowledge and power, they're often strict, detached, and focused on maintaining balance, sometimes at the cost of compassion or free will. The Guardians of the Universe first attempted to maintain cosmic order by creating the Manhunters, a force of emotionless androids. The Manhunters carried out their duties with absolute inflexibility, interpreting justice in cold and literal terms. This lack of compassion eventually led to the slaughter of nearly all life in Sector 666. In that sector, Atrocitus was once known as Atros, a man of peace. He lived with his wife and children on the planet Reeved. Their lives were simple and quiet. There was no war, no hunger, and no warning. That's when the Manhunters came. Atros lost everything. His family, his home, and his sense of safety were all stripped away in a matter of moments. He survived the massacre but emerged from it as something else entirely. Grief hollowed him out. In its place grew something colder and darker. He began to despise the Guardians for their carelessness and their silence. In his eyes, they had allowed this atrocity to happen, and he refused to let that go unpunished. Atros joined with 4 others who had survived the same genocide. Together, they became known as the 5 Inversions. They embraced dark sciences and rituals that most civilizations feared. Their purpose was to bring about the end of the Guardians and ensure that no one else suffered as they had. However, Atros went further than the others. While the rest became prophets of destruction, he remained focused on a different path. He saw justice where others only wanted chaos. The Guardians had not only created killers, but they had abandoned responsibility. That truth became the foundation of Atros's transformation. He didn't wait for power to be given. He reached into the raw energy of rage itself and pulled forth something new. Through ancient rituals and bleeding-edge science, he forged the first red power ring. When the ring latched to his finger, it consumed his heart and replaced it with fire. His blood boiled into plasma and his voice carried the roar of the void. This is when Atros officially became Atrocitus, the first Red Lantern. He wasn't a servant of will or hope or even fear. He was fury made manifest, a weapon born of grief, a firestorm with purpose, and he would burn a path through the cosmos until justice was served. Atrocitus possesses one of the most volatile and destructive power sets in the emotional spectrum. As the first Red Lantern, his abilities are fueled entirely by rage. Unlike other ring wielders, his power isn't shaped by thought or imagination. It erupts from raw emotion and manifests through violent force. The red power ring allows him to generate powerful energy constructs, but most Red Lanterns favor direct attacks over precision. Atrocitus is no exception. His strength lies in overwhelming his enemies with brutal force rather than technique. One of his most defining traits is the way his power has altered his body. The ring replaced his heart and floods his veins with searing red plasma that pours from his mouth when he attacks. The corrosive substance isn't just energy, it's weaponized hate. It can melt through defenses and continue to burn even after contact. Atrocitus can unleash this plasma in wide blasts or direct streams. It's the extension of his anger made tangible. Unlike many Red Lanterns who lose their higher brain functions to their rage, Atrocitus retains his intellect and strategic thinking. This makes him far more dangerous. He can lead, plan, and adapt. The Red Ring also grants him flight, durability, and enhanced physical strength. He can survive in space, heal from fatal injuries, and tear through armored targets with ease. His endurance pushes beyond that of most Green Lanterns, and his will is rarely shaken. Through ancient rituals and his connection to the Red Lantern power battery, Atrocitus also commands a limited form of prophecy and mysticism. He's able to read blood and gain insight into possible futures or hidden truths. This blood magic is unique to him and grants him an edge beyond simple combat. Atrocitus isn't a chaotic beast, he's a weapon sharpened by grief. His power isn't wild by accident, it's controlled fury. His every action, every strike is driven with purpose, and through his rage, he makes the universe listen. Atrocitus made his mark long before the universe knew his name. After creating the first red power ring, he began building a core of his own. He traveled across the galaxy, seeking out those consumed by rage and offering them the same fire that burned inside him. His recruits became the Red Lantern Corps, and their creation was no quiet affair. Atrocitus launched a direct assault on the Green Lanterns and the Guardians, carving out a bloody path through space. His message was simple: rage would no longer be ignored. His first major confrontation came when he clashed with Sinestro and Hal Jordan. Atrocitus viewed both with contempt. Sinestro represented fear and tyranny. Hal Jordan embodied the will of an institution that had failed his people. During this encounter, Atrocitus nearly killed Sinestro. It was only Hal's interference that saved him. Despite their differences, the confrontation made something clear. Atrocitus wasn't a villain in a traditional sense. He was an executioner of justice, twisted but deliberate. His rage was righteous in his own eyes and often in the eyes of others. One of his most significant choices came when he created a Red Lantern on Earth. He selected a cat named Dexter. Dexter, with a broken past, had a heart full of vengeance after his owner was killed and he was left to fend for himself. It was an unexpected choice, but it showed Atrocitus' deep understanding of rage. He saw potential where others saw weakness. That same insight led him to create another Red Lantern, a woman named Bleeze. Though she began a victim of war, she evolved into a fierce and loyal enforcer of his cause. Atrocitus' leadership turned the Red Lantern Corps into more than just a blunt instrument. It became a sanctuary for the broken. At one point, he even allied himself with heroes to stop larger threats to the emotional spectrum. Though uneasy, the cooperation revealed the complexity of his character. He wasn't driven by conquest, he was driven by pain. When the threat of the Black Lanterns emerged, Atrocitus fought to preserve life, not destroy it. He knew the difference between vengeance and oblivion. That distinction shaped many of his future decisions. Eventually, his own corps did turn against him. His brutal leadership led to a rebellion, and Atrocitus was cast out by those he once led. But even in exile, he remained a force. He created a new power battery, forged new followers, and reclaimed his title through sheer will. And as you may have guessed, that betrayal only deepened his hatred, but it also clarified his purpose. He no longer sought just revenge, he sought balance. He believed rage had a place in the emotional spectrum, and that the universe would never find peace without it. Through war, exile, and resurrection, Atrocitus proved one thing above all. He's not a servant of destruction, he's an architect when justice demands it. His story is not one of conviction, and in a universe full of light and lies, his fury burns with brutal clarity. Atrocitus is important because he represents the side of emotion that most stories choose to silence. His presence in the universe is a response to injustice. He wasn't born evil, he was made through loss. Everything he does is rooted in the truth that unchecked systems can destroy lives without facing consequence. His rage is not aimless, it's directed at those who let tragedy happen and then look away. His role in the larger mythos isn't to spread fear or chaos, but to challenge the idea that peace is built only through will and hope. Atrocitus shows that anger has a place, it speaks for those who were erased, and it breaks through indifference. His actions may be violent, but his motives aren't hollow. He gives power to the powerless and a voice to the voiceless. This makes him more than a villain, it makes him necessary. The lesson in his story isn't that rage should control us, it's that rage needs to be understood. When guided by purpose, it can become a force that exposes failure and demands change. Atrocitus teaches us that silence in the face of suffering is just as dangerous as violence itself.